Hey there, I'm Andrew, the writer here for Religious Trauma Sucks. I'm kind of experimenting with different things to do, and so I hope you'll have some patience with me as I'm still figuring out, I guess, what you can call my constellation of how I approach this. But I wanted to read this. I made a commitment to try to read these posts just to increase their accessibility, but then also I don't know, call it a vlog or something like that. I am adamantly determined to never host a podcast, but I feel like this might be it's getting close. But I just want to read this post to you on the real harm of spiritual abuse and maybe share just a couple of expanded points as they come relevant. So, welcome into my home office here in the, I say, middle of nowhere, Montana, also just south of somewhere, Montana. Those are not actual places, but um, they make sense. I'm in a rural community, so a lot of folks haven't heard of the towns that I'm live in or work in, but they might know where Missoula is. So, with this post, there is a trigger and a content warning. There are descriptions of harmful and harmful theological ideologies. And with all of my posts, and with the core aspect of what I believe about human dignity, a core element of that is consent. And so I hope that if this doesn't resonate with you, that you just move on. And my deepest and most sincerest hope that this could be helpful in naming your experience. And when we gain the language to understand our experience, we begin to experience healing. So let's start with the revolutionary and maybe even a terrifying idea: trust yourself. If you are a survivor of high control religious systems, this phrase isn't just advice, it is an act of rebellion, and it's time to be a rebel. You were taught explicitly that your heart was deceitful, that your own understanding couldn't be trusted, that the most dangerous thing you could possibly do is rely on your own intuition. So, when you begin to consider it now, the radical notion that you can trust yourself, it might feel less like relief and more like an exhausting internal battle. If you know that feeling, you are not alone and you are not broken. The deep, lingering pain of spiritual abuse isn't random, and it's not a sign of your failure or a lack of faith. It's the predictable outcome of a system that methodically undermines the very essence of who you are. I call this a dignity violation. I describe dignity as an inherent and permanent quality of goodness that is deserving of love, agency, respect, and consent. It is not something that is earned or added on, it is simply yours because you are. High control systems, by their very nature, function by violating these core pillars of your personhood. And understanding that is the first step towards reclaiming yourself. Spiritual abuse as a systematic dignity violation. The problem isn't just flawed belief, it's the system itself is built upon the attempt to dismantle your dignity piece by piece. I named the four elements of dignity being agency, love, respect, and consent. And so let's look at each one of those. Your agency was deemed corrupt. Agency is the freedom to choose. Yet you may have been taught that you have no choice but to be in opposition to God from birth. This harmful ideology strips you of any belief in your own positive decision making right from the start. And it grants unchecked authority to leaders and reframes your personal yes or no as an act of rebellion against God, not just a boundary with a person. Love was performative, not unconditional. You were promised unconditional love, but the truth is, um, true love is the type that creates safety and it requires boundaries. The whole point of vows and mutual commitments is that there's boundaries around the relationship. They're conditions. In high control contexts, however, this gets co opted. Love and belonging often become the reward for performance and compromise. You were loved if you believed the right things, behaved the right way, and stayed compliant. This turns love from a source of safety into a tool of control. You were shown profound disrespect. Your inner world was not honored. Sermons and teachings were often belittling and dehumanizing. This wasn't just for the outsiders, but it was also for you. Your doubts were muted, your questions were evidence of arrogance, your personal experiences were dismissed if they didn't align with the pre approved doctrinal statements. This teaches you to disrespect your own internal landscape, to treat your own thoughts and feelings with suspicion. Your consent was treated as an afterthought. Purity culture is the primary example of this, where your body's boundaries are decided for you, but it goes deeper than that. It is the non consensual imposition of values, like in my own experience with a religious leader. So I remember vividly sitting on the second story of the church that we were in this pastor's office. And I was going to a Wesleyan school and had made some sort of like offhand comment about, well, I'm not surrounded by 5 point Calvinists. And he sort of like paused and said, look, well, I am. And let me tell you why. And I don't remember what he said, but for his reasons, but he did say this, and I do remember that clearly. He said, I want to, deposit theological insights into the bank of your mind so that when I finally came to see his way, they would have accrued interest. This sort of idea of that if I just listened to him more closely, um, that eventually I'd see the truth and would believe it more firmly. I don't know. Um, I kind of did the opposite. My doctoral dissertation actually went out to say that the doctrines of total depravity and original sin are dignity violations. So it didn't get deposited well. Um, but what he did was a dignity violation, right? This idea of let me just instill into your mind something that you need to believe. This isn't a gift that he gave me. It was an intellectual and spiritual trespass. He was communicating that my mind is a space to be colonized, not a sovereign territory to be cherished. When you begin to see the architecture of harm so clearly, the confusing aftermath of leaving starts to make a startling amount of sense. If you feel lost, anxious, or unable to make decisions, that makes sense. It makes sense that you doubt your own goodness when you were told your agency was corrupt from birth. It makes sense that you fear being too much or not enough when love is a reward for performance. It makes sense that you dismiss your own intuition when your inner world is consistently shown disrespect. And it makes sense that you feel disconnected from your body and your no when your consent was treated as an afterthought. You are not broken. You are a human being having a normal human reaction to a profoundly dehumanizing environment. Your pain is a signal that your dignity was violated. And the journey forward isn't about fixing your brokenness, it's about reclaiming the dignity that was always yours. This untangling isn't just an intellectual exercise. Since the violation of your dignity taught you to disconnect from your body, the path home must lead you back into your body. And so, with that, I want to offer, as I do each week, a gentle embodiment practice. I invite you to try this gentle practice as an act of reclaiming your own physical space. As always, if it doesn't feel safe yet to go here in your body, I want you to honor that. Your the consent that you offer is vital. And also, when we're taught that our bodies are not a safe place, it can feel discomfort. It can feel uncomfortable, scary, or even threatening to try to enter into that space. And so I want to honor that with you. I want you to pause for a moment if it feels safe to do so and allow your eyes to close or just sort of soften your gaze. Place a hand over the center of your chest and don't press too hard. Just let it um, be a weight there. Take one slow, full, deep breath and feel your chest rise to meet your hand. As you exhale, imagine your shoulders dropping just a little bit. I invite you into these words. You can say them softly or just in your mind. My body is my home. I have a right to be here. Take one more deep breath. You have survived. You have survived a system that attempted to compromise your inherent goodness, and the journey back to yourself is a profound act of courage. It is the ultimate reclamation of your dignity. I invite you to consider today what is just one small way you can honor, celebrate, and cherish your dignity. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful day.